our next topic, which is the top 5 freshmen incoming to Texas. I think there's a lot of good guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about how good Sark has been recruiting in a little bit. Let's hit on this. So let's start with number 5. Who is your 5th freshman you're most excited for, either long-term, short-term, however you want to slice it and dice it? Who's your number 5?
Yeah, I think in this one, Khalil Lockett is probably one. I think I'm really, and this doesn't indicate how excited I am to have him as a recruit. I also took like instant impact into my rankings here.
Yeah.
And so I think Khalil Lockett probably has a longer path to get to the field than the rest of the guys that I have on this list. But I think Khalil Lockett is a guy who's going to come in and in probably 2 years be one of, if not the top receivers in the SEC, if not in the country. He's just got that level of talent. He's got that level of ability. He is a freak of nature. One of those guys that can just come in, and he might very well break the depth chart next year. I'm not saying he won't, but I think with the number of bodies in that room and the lack of aggression Texas showed in the portal, I think they're good with the guys that they have. And so him coming in, there's just a little bit of longer path to the field, I think. But I think he's going to come in and at some point be incredible.
No, I agree. Like I said, I'm already on board. I think he was the best wide receiver in the class coming out last year. Yes, that includes Ja'Cory on board. I have put that out there into the ether. I hope I'm right about that. He's a just long, lengthy, athletic guy that so far the intel coming out is all 3 of those wide receivers, Dalen McCutcheon, Jamie French, and him, have done exactly what the staff expect them to do. They've done pretty damn good so far. Number 5, and this is also one I put my stamp on. I think long-term Smith Orogbo is a guy that I think will be the best defensive player in this class. I really believe that. It's just the frame and athleticism that he has. He is a raw football player. I think he's only been playing for like 3 or 4 years, if I'm correct on that. And I just think he's going to be able to learn so much in this program. I think he's going to be able to put on the right amount of weight in this program. And I think the measurables you really can't teach. I agree. I think Lance Jackson, the guy that everyone talks about, I think he was a 5-star at the end of the cycle.
Yeah.
He's a guy right away that's going to play more than Smith Orogbo. There's no doubt about that. I'm talking about at the end of the career for both of those guys. I think Smith Orogbo is going to be a better football player. I'm really impressed with the tape. I really like the potential that he has. So he is my number 5.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I love the guys who like they haven't been playing football for very long, but they're also really good, because that just shows you the like development trajectory that they're going to be on, right? That's honestly Christian Jones, right? Christian Jones was not an early football player. He was a soccer player, and then like, oh, you're massive, let's put you on the football field. And so I think that's why it took him a little while to get there. But that to me, Smith Orogbo is a guy who I'm excited to see what he grows into, because he's absolutely going to be a monster. And I think, like you said, Lance Jackson came on campus and already looks the part, has also the reps in the trenches. He's a camp warrior, that kind of guy. But so I think when Smith catches up with him, I think he's going to absolutely be a monster.
No, 100%. So my number 4, I struggled with this one, but I'm going to go with Michael Terry. I think this is long-term and short-term. I think short-term, they're going to, ease him in and not use him as a Swiss Army knife. Like I think he's going to be used eventually, but I think you're going to see him probably as a tight end or wide receiver right away, and then just expand his role to an H-back, a tight end or wide receiver, a little bit of each, depending on the formations, the defense being played and all that. But I think this guy has a very high ceiling. I mean, he's 6'3", 220 pounds. He's a super good athlete. I think ran like a 11-second 100-meter in high school. So that for that size, that's really fast.
Yeah.
And I think he can be an explosive tight end. I'm really hoping he beefs up a little bit, and that's where we use him. But wherever we use him, I think he's going to be a very good football player. So he's my number 4.
Yeah, and that 11-second 100 was as a sophomore, right? So like he's grown a little bit, gotten a little faster since then. No, I think you're absolutely right. He's one of those guys. He's going to end up being like a big Silas Bolden. I think he's just going to play all over the field. Maybe not as fast as Silas Bolden or not as shifty, but he's going to be a guy who you can play anywhere on the field, anywhere on the offense, and he's going to be a value add for them. I think you're absolutely right. He was probably like 5B on my list, like right on the outside of my list, because and then he's a guy who I think in a couple of years is going to be all over the world. So my number 4, I have Myron Charles. I think Myron Charles is a dude. I think Myron Charles is a guy who especially with, again, where Texas is at in the defensive line, in the interior defensive line. I think Myron Charles is a guy who's already got the size, like 6'5", 290 coming in as a freshman, like a big kid. Already kind of a mauler, just a big bear kind of a kid that you need. And that's what really does well in this defensive system. You don't Texas has been blessed in the last several years with big playmaking defensive tackles with interior guys who, again, you think about the last 2 years, Vernon Broughton, Alfred Collins, you think about Byron Murphy, Tavondre Sweat. Those guys are big, like playmaking defensive tackles, but really in the system, this is a system that's designed for your defensive tackles. Just be anvils in the middle. Just grab somebody, take up some space, throw the numbers off, and create some plays for the guys on the outside and the guys at the second level. And I think Myron Charles has the ability to do that. He's a big physical guy. He's thick. Like, I like him on the offensive line. He's a guy who can occupy multiple space, occupy two gaps. I just love it. I think he's going to be an impact player sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think just based off his skill set, and also we're a little thin at the defensive line, especially the interior right now. I definitely think he plays a little bit. I think you're going to see probably Alex January only got like 5% of the snaps. I think you're going to see Myron Charles more at like the 10 to 15% range, and I think he's going to play well. And into the future, I think he's going to be a really good player. Who's your number 3?
My number 3, Bo Barnes, Elijah Bo Barnes. I think he's another guy who, based upon like positional value, made this list for me because the linebacker room has a really high ceiling, but like after that first level, after Anthony Hill, after Leonga Leifau, like who's there? And I think Bo Barnes, honestly, in a year with even more depth in that room, would probably be a guy who cracked the rotation anyways. But because of the thinness at linebacker, I think he's a guy who's got a really good skill set. He's athletic. He's a really violent linebacker, which I love to see. He's a guy who just likes to get in there and mix it up. He's not going to be very good on passing downs. I think he's probably going to see the sideline on a third down, a third and long, a third and medium. But on a third and short, on a first down when they're running it, he's a guy who's going to get in there and mix it up, put his nose in a run fit, and really blow things up. So I think he's a guy who can have an instant impact and also has a really high ceiling.
No, I agree. He almost made my list. Yeah, it's just a position where we really need someone to step up eventually because, like you said, this is it for Anthony Hill. And speaking of Anthony Hill, we appreciate this comment by 512 Outdoors. Anthony Hill about to eat dudes this year. Yes, I think Anthony Hill's probably going to win the Buckus Award. He should have been a finalist last year. I thought that was ridiculous, but it is what it is. But yeah, and we're going to need someone to step up. And I think Elijah Barnes can definitely do that. I agree with you. He'll get some early playing time. Needs to beef up a little bit. And then also, like you said, needs to get a little bit better in the passing game. But other than that, he's going to be a really good player. Number 3 is for me. And the top 3 are all studs to me. Jonah Williams. I just think this guy is going to be used perfectly in this system. I think you're going to see him line up at safety. I think you're going to see him line up at linebacker on certain downs. I think you're going to see him line up at nickel. He can do it all. He's a freak athlete. As you know, he plays on the baseball team. So to be able to play 2 college sports, you have to be a very, very good athlete. And I think he's just perfect for this Pete Kwiatkowski system.
Yeah.
Do I expect him to do all those roles next year? No. Again, it's a lot like Michael Terry. I think you ease him in. He's going to specify in one role this year, but then at the end of his career, you're going to see him line up all over the damn field. And I think he's going to have a phenomenal career at Texas.
Yeah, and I actually have him on my list at number 2, so like spoilers for my next section. Yeah, I think Jonah Williams is a guy who comes in and can have instant impact. He is, I talk a lot about like playing freshmen, and they're guys that you like have to play, and then the guys that you get to play. These are guys that you get to play, right? He can play anywhere. He can jump in at safety, either side. He could probably even play some of the nickel in this scheme just based on his athleticism. I don't think he's going to need to, but Texas has the opportunity. He's a guy you can play pretty much anywhere in that secondary, and he's a positive player. He's a plus player. So I have him at number 2 on my list because he's just a dude. There's no 2 ways around it.
100%. And number 2 for me, I already talked about him a little bit. I have to put him up here, Khalil Lockett. I think he's going to be the best, like I said, best wide receiver in the class. I think he's going to play a lot early at Texas. We made a video early on in the offseason talking about who's going to be that number 3 wide receiver. I think it's going to be this guy. I really believe that. I think he's going to have a Ryan Wingo type freshman season, if not a little bit more. I think he's a special football player once he gets a football in his hands. And again, it's kind of weird because we talk about contact balance as a running back thing. I see that with him when he catches the football, high points it, and then lands and is able to run after. That's a very rare trait. Most guys, when they catch it up like that, high up in the air, they fall down, they're down, which is fine. You caught the football. This guy's able to high point a football at the high at his peak and then come down, land, and outrun people. So I think he's a really special football player. So he's number 2 for me. And then number 1, let's see if we have the same one. Justice Terry.
100%. Yeah.
Justice Terry. Okay. I'll let you hit on him.
I mean, all the things I said about Myron Charles, but times two, right? Like Texas needs bodies of defensive tackle, and Justice Terry is just a special kind of player. He's big, he's fast, he's way quicker than somebody who's 6'5, 295, 300 pounds. Should be good feet, good active hands, like everything you want out of like a third-year defensive tackle. He's got coming in at Texas. Texas needs the help there. There's a reason why they went heavy with that. They got two guys that I think were top 100 players in this freshman class, and they'll be able and ready to play. And I think, again, Justice Terry is a mauler. He's a monster, and he's going to create matchups that are favorable for the linebackers, right? He's the kind of player, I mentioned it already, but he's the kind of player who can occupy multiple gaps, right? If you're going to run to the A gap, you're going to run into Justice Terry on either side of that center, right? So like he's the guy who creates the freedom for Anthony Hill to be Anthony Hill and for Leon Galefau to be Leon Galefau and make those run fits, right? That's the kind of player that you want. He's one of those ones that I wouldn't be shocked if he comes in, plays really well early, and is gone in 3 years because he's just that type of athlete.
No, I agree. I think he's a 3-year player here. I don't think we get his 4th year unless like he gets a devastating injury, which I hope doesn't happen. He's just a spectacular, like, I think it's funny. There's a picture. Anyone can look it up on Google. I think he's 15 or 16 years old, and he already looks like he's ready as a freshman in college to play football. And he's just a freak in every, like facet of the game.
Yeah.
And we need him. Like he's going to play early just because 1, we need him. 2, he's really good. And I expect kind of like you're not going to get the sack numbers because he's playing on the interior, but I expect like a Colin Simmons type freshman year from Justice Terry on the interior, which is just a dominating football player when he's on the field. And you'll probably see a lull like we saw with Colin Simmons. Started out fast, a little 1 or 2 game lull to get used to like SEC type play. And then once that ended, he was good again really good again at the end of the year. He was our best pass rusher in the Ohio State game. Like they could not block him. I kind of expect that with Justice Terry. I think early on, people are going to be like, damn, he's really good. Then SEC play starts, and probably the Ohio State game too, since we start out with that. He'll probably not make that much of an impact because, again, that's a really hard game as a freshman to play. But I expect middle of SEC play, I think you're going to see an all-conference type player, honestly, because that's kind of what you saw from Colin Simmons.
And I think you may end up seeing like early in his career, it may not be the fill up the stat sheet kind of impact, but the I always hate this term, but like the ball knowers, right? When you watch somebody playing on the interior defensive line, like the guy, like Devondre Sweat didn't show up much on the stat sheet, but he was the reason why the defense was so good, right? He and Byron Murphy did not show up a ton on the stat sheets in every game, but they were the reason why the linebackers were really good, right? So like that's the kind of impact that I think a guy like him can have early and often for Texas. So that's why he's number 1 on both of our lists, because dude is just special.
100%. That does it for the top 5 freshmen.